Saturday in the park. It is Saturday, folks. Not the typical, because I record on Sunday if you listen to the podcast enough. But tomorrow, I'm going to Six Flags. Yeah, you thought I didn't do anything fun? I'm going on roller coasters tomorrow. I actually love amusement parks and that kind of thing, so I'm actually pretty dang excited. But the responsibilities don't just fly away when the fun stuff comes along. So here we are on the podcast, and today, I gotta say the stars kind of aligned for me, because if you've listened for a while, you know I love the Q&A episodes, and I do one every fifth week. So I believe this would be episode 45 of the podcast. That's 45 weeks in a row, and it just so happens to be a Q&A, just for my ease, because when you guys ask me awesome questions, the answer just gets downloaded in my mind, absolutely for free. And I don't know why that is, but just a prompt from another person gets the gears turning like absolutely nothing else. Because most of the time I'm just here riffing in my damn room, staring down the barrel of the camera going, shoot, what's going to change someone's life? But you're giving me the change that you need to make. And I'm just saying words. So I'm going to just go down the list. I did a little poll on my Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram, honestly don't. No, I'm just kidding. You can. And you can ask me some questions when I do a little, hey, Q&A podcast tomorrow, drop your questions, and then I might answer them. So I'm just going to start from the top. What to do when you're not sure of what you want. Let's see if I can package this nice and simple. Sit on your ass and stare at the wall. It's funny, a client of mine, been working with her for about a month now, and she said, would you be open to doing a session with my daughter to help her really kind of unlock some things in her mind, prepping for college, 17, that stage of life, stupid overwhelming. Just the mind, if you put that mind under the microscope in that stage of life, it would probably just say the word inflammation over it, because there's so many decisions, everything you do, it feels like the world is ending. So I said, yeah, that would be super fun. And we had this conversation. It was an hour just discovering, what actually matters to you. That was the first question I asked her, and we just kept kind of picking apart her mentality and the things that she's interested in, the things that she's pretending to be interested to make sure that life goes the right way and all that kind of stuff. And by the end, I said, okay, so the studying, the screen time, all of that sort of stuff, you've heard it a million times. Nobody can enforce these things on you, of course. And there's another thing that I would like to add to the to-do list that's not just to get good grades, get a good career with all of the external stuff, but something actually for you. For you. And I said 10 minutes a day of staring at the wall. And her eyes were about as wide open as they could possibly be. And she said, what? I said, yeah, 10 minutes a day, sitting and staring at the wall. It was honestly funny because I talk about this kind of stuff so much. But for her, she was stunned to hear that. She said, I don't know if I could do that. And I said, okay, wait, let me put myself in check a little bit here. A 17-year-old girl maybe is not, typically speaking, on the same sort of shit that I'm talking about a lot of the time. And so I said, let me dial it back to 5. Could you do 5 minutes of just sitting down, staring at the wall? And staring at the wall is kind of metaphorical for just not doing something. And she said, okay, I think I could do that. And I told her, again, nobody can enforce this. Nobody can make you do it. I'm not going to make you do it. Your parents can't make you do it. However, if you can trust me on this, and you can spend the next year of your life, let's say, spending that 5 minutes every single day just doing nothing, existing in the present moment, giving yourself that time to just be with yourself, you'll be decades ahead of your peers. It's crazy how doing nothing can unlock so much in your mind about your priorities, what matters to you, the memories from your life that spark new ideas and make you more creative, that give you the path that maybe you could help other people. So to answer this question, what do you do when you're not sure what you want? Stare off into the distance until your mind starts talking to you. All you got to do is listen. And most people don't give themselves the time to listen because it's daunting to just spend those moments alone. isolated, quiet, nobody there to talk to. But that becomes so much less scary when you just expose yourself to that more and more. Do you really enjoy your morning routine? No. How do you do it? What's your secret? This is kind of the best question ever, in terms of teeing me up for just some good little responses here. Do you really enjoy it? Absolutely not. That is the core of why I do it. How do you do it? This is a beautiful question right here. So if I were to say, let's think of the most fundamental baseline thing to do. Breathing. Actually, this is great. Breathing. Now, I want you to answer this question in your mind right now. How do you do it? I mean, you breathe in and you breathe out. No. How do you do that? I mean, you're breathing air in and then you're breathing it out. No, but how do you do that? You see what I'm getting at here? There comes a point where there's no further explanation for how to do a thing than to do that thing. And I come at this crossroads. I get to this intersection of advice giving and just, giving a little bit of tough love to people, where how do you be more intentional? Intend. You know what I mean? Plant that idea in your mind further and further. And when I'm working with clients on unlocking these things mentally, it gets to this every single time. I go, look, we're going to boil this down far enough to where there's no longer more advice to give. There's just action to take. So how do I do it? I wake my ass up. I stand out of bed. I sit in my ice bath for 3 minutes and I go for a run. And it freaking sucks until it's done. And then afterwards, I'm going, man, I'm really grateful that I went through that hard time, because now I'm grounded. Now I have that mental clarity. Now I don't have to feel that kind of existential guilt of not pushing myself. I'm doing the thing, and that gives an insane amount of peace. How do you do it, though? You do. And what's my secret? Man, there's not a damn secret that I could even come up with on the spot right now if I was trying to be funny. There are no secrets. It's putting your mind under the microscope every single day and finding out what you're capable of. What do you think of the LGBTQ moves? What are they, dancing or some shit? Maybe they meant movies. I also just would have no idea how to answer that. That's hilarious. Guidance for your 22-year-old self starting this social media thing. Oh. See, you guys have amazing questions. Whether funny or insightful, they're amazing. Guidance for my 22-year-old self starting the social media thing. Start your podcast immediately, motherfucker. That's what I would say, genuinely. Start the YouTube, start the long form right now. Because if you wait, you're going to think that you're building a massive following of people that get it. But out of 440 or whatever, 440,000 followers on Instagram, I don't know, maybe 400 people get it. You know what I mean? A short form audience is not built on understanding. It's built on attention. And that's a pain in the ass for somebody that actually wants to help people. Such a pain in the ass. All the people that are these value-based creators and they're telling you how to be so much better, it's just this mental masturbation of hearing good advice and then you never do anything about it. And me knowing that for all of this time, I'm going, how do I dig deeper? How do I get beneath the surface of that and say some real shit? And by the time you open your mouth to say some real shit, people don't want to hear it. They're scrolling on to the next thing. The short form platforms, I mean, give me a break. It's not for value at all. You win by getting attention. And yes, people say some good things and get attention, but this is not an audience built on understanding. 10 years ago, you have 400,000 followers. Dude, that is a completely different game. Now, it's 400,000 followers, but I got to place a bid every day to be attention seeking enough so people see the stuff, and then it starts getting back into their feed. But you just go value, you try to help people. Oh, hell no. Oh, that's not going to work at all. All right. Are you Irish and German? Because you look Irish and German. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I want to do one of those little, what's it called? 23andMe. I think that's what that is, right? Ancestry, whatever the hell. It'd be cool to see that. I think for sure I'm Irish because, yeah, I do look that part. Freckles and all that good shit. Pale skin. German, I don't know. I think maybe my grandmother was German. You caught me there. Sometimes I have some good answers, but that one, no. What shoes do you use? You recommend? Thanks. So I wear Vivo Barefoots. I like the barefoot shoes for lifting, walking, that kind of thing. I'm a big fan of the barefoot, not because it's a life-saving mechanism. I feel like a lot of people get a little charlatan-y, when it comes to some of those things. I just think it's great. I think the human foot was designed pretty damn well, so we don't need to bastardize that design necessarily. So yeah, I would say that's what I use typically day to day. I actually wear flip-flops a ton because I'm trying to stop getting the damn quarter sock tan all the time. And then I run every day in Ultras, and I've reached out to them a ton to get a little brand sponsorship going, and they're just going, no, sorry, you're not cool enough for us, or whatever the hell they say. So yeah, I mean, try them out or don't. I don't really give a shit. I like them just because they have the flat sole. So you see all these trampoline ass shoes with a fat heel, and then people just run ridiculously fast because they got a carbon plate in there, and then rocket launchers on the back. And I'm just thinking, all right, are we getting better at running or making shoes? Probably both, but that would be my recommendation or my thoughts anyways. Oh, yeah, come on, this is a good one. I remember you said badminton is your favorite sport. Are you going to improve your skills there? I don't need to improve my skills there. I'm totally kidding. Yeah, so badminton is unironically my favorite sport. I think there are so many benefits to it. Screw it, I'm doing the badminton sales pitch right now. So it's funny because the school that my editor and my videographer both graduated from, and I lived really close to, NC State in Raleigh, North Carolina. I used to work out there as well, so it's kind of how we all met in some way, shape, or form. But it's a big engineering school, so there's a lot of Indian and Asian people that go there, and the badminton scene, oh, baby. I mean, I'd pull up to the 8 courts in there, only white dude, taking names, but not fully taking names. It was crazy because there would be some dudes that are just not even in shape, and they've just got that badminton IQ. So they say people who play racket sports have a longer life expectancy, and I think that's for 2 reasons. One, because the mental acuity that builds through the anticipation of badminton, huge. So constantly you hit the thing, and then you see where it's going. You're calculating how they might hit it because they have a few different options. They might smash it, they might do a short, they might do kind of a line drive over the net, and you have to be ready for all of those. And then physically speaking, actually reacting to those things, incredible. They say badminton players have a 1.5 times thicker patellar tendon than the average human. And it's these quick changes in direction. It turns you into a damn superhero. So badminton, freaking awesome. I haven't played in probably a year, and I'm really sad about that. But I think what keeps a skill in your mind and body isn't necessarily just physical. I think it's the fact that I love it so much that when I step back on the badminton court, I'll be right back into it. Hope you agree. What do you know about EID? Am I just having a huge brain fart right now? I have no idea what that means. EID. Should I look this up? I don't want to waste too much time on it if this is just a joke or something. EID. Aid what? Major Islamic holiday marking the end of Ramadan's month-long dawn to sunset fasting. Huh. I eat every day, typically. That's what I know about it. I've heard your life parts in bits and pieces. Okay, what does your journey from child to now look like in one flow? Well, that's kind of a that's kind of a heavy question right there. Um, Man, let me take the mental route here. So I would say I grew up afraid. I would say I grew up anxious. I grew up compulsive. My memory of some of these compulsions, I wasn't quite the tweaking type. I had this interesting confidence because I was known to be talented, I guess, as a young kid, especially in sports and that kind of thing. But when it came to being nervous about doing those things or leaving my mom, holy shit. I mean, my mind was an absolute mess. You talk about fight or flight. I was a damn pilot. I was constantly flying, especially in school. That whole ecosystem freaked me out. Worst thing ever. I remember, I would drop something on the floor, maybe a little crumb, and I would try and walk away from it because I knew that it was kind of this magical, inflated thinking that I would attach to things like this. But I'd drop something on the floor, try and walk away, and then my mind would just go, but what if mom died and you left that on the floor? And it was just this almost scary, ultra emotional version of thinking and attaching things that don't actually matter to something really big that may occur. I was actually talking about it this morning because we're filming for YouTube today. I would worry so far in advance. It'd be Thursday. I'm going, okay, great. Tomorrow's Friday. But Friday leads to Saturday, and Saturday is really only the weekend day because Sunday is the day before Monday, and Monday I'm going to have to go to school again. And I think the way that I live now, doing these difficult things every single day, it does not allow me to even go months in advance, because if I think a week, a month, a year ahead, it's just going to be the same exact responsibility, so I might as well focus on today. So it seems harsh, but it actually places me in this beautiful presence, the present moment, instead of worrying into the future. So I know that wasn't my whole life story in one flow. Maybe that would take more of an episode than answering one question here, but hopefully that gives a little bit of insight, knowing kind of where I am today and what my mind and thoughts seem and sound like. Do you feel empty by waking up early on morning? No. I feel awesome. Your why. I would say my why, if I could put it most simply, would be to be an example and give people permission to be their own authority and to not use other people's defaults and failures as their own story. First thing that comes to mind, the moment that you felt your absolute best in recent memory. I would say I don't experience life in major spikes or crazy downfalls. I would say that weeks or months at a time have more of a theme. So the theme I definitely don't indulge in is, oh, everything is going wrong. And I've been in that mind space for plenty of time, mind you, while living the way that I do. So doing absolutely everything under the sun to make sure that I'm being the best version of myself, checking every single box imaginable, but all the external things not going the way that I want. It's really easy to fall into that victim mindset of course this would happen to me. I've actually flipped that and said, of course this would happen to me, because if I was the universe, dude, I'd be trying to throw every single piece of bullshit at me possible, because my life is just going to be too damn awesome. So there's this optimism, there's this positivity that people like to tap into. In a lot of ways, I don't love the toxic positivity, that toxic optimism, because it seems super fake. The way that I talk and think with myself is not, oh, that's okay, everything's going to be just fine. It's not very pretty like that, but I'm a decently sarcastic person, and so tapping into a little bit of sarcasm, a little bit of humor, more of a edgier thought process, not to sound cringe, but that resonates with me a little bit more. And it gives me a pocket of that optimism that I can actually use and hang on to. So again, when everything is just going horribly wrong, I kind of just go, yeah, that definitely would happen to me, because things are going to look too good in the future. So we wouldn't want to just shortcut that. Something bad has to happen. And just say the universe is conspiring in my favor. I think my friend Sandra might have said that, but I really love that line. because it's damn true. What do you think about counting your calories / macros? I love listening to your pod. Well, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I want to take a second of gratitude here and just say that getting questions in the first place, mind-blowing. Such an insane thing to just be sitting here recording a video, answering the questions that you guys want to hear from me. Are you kidding me? I think my past self would be pretty stoked for that being the case. So again, thank you for listening. Absolutely love to hear it. What do I think about counting calories and macros? I personally don't do it because I eat the same exact thing every day. So I'm a creature of habit in a lot of ways. When you do the same shit constantly, you don't have to do a lot of detail work. When you don't like to do the same shit constantly, you just have a little bit more responsibility to do that detail work. So when I'm working with clients on this side of things, I say, look, you don't have to be like me. I'll tell you what, most of the people I'm working with and mentoring, I'm saying, don't be like me, okay? Because we don't have the same priority list. So if you're going to try and eat like me, you might get really bored if you're kind of the foodie type and you like to try a bunch of new stuff. Cool. If you like to try a bunch of new stuff and have a little bit more flexibility there, you're just going to have to be more particular and specific with how you're tracking your things if you have some sort of weight gain or loss goal. For me, I eat like crazy, but it's within the parameters of all healthy food, all whole foods, not a bunch of highly processed shit. And so I mean, if I eat a whole box of blueberries, which if I have one blueberry, the whole box is going to be gone, just saying. So what? I don't have a problem with that at all because I know that the food I'm putting in my body is good for me. So that's just my thinking though. If you like to have that flexibility, again, I think counting your calories and counting your macros, it's just a sense of awareness. I've counted my calories a handful of times just to say, okay, about where am I at? So when somebody asks me how many calories I eat a day, I say maybe about 4,000, 4,500, depending on how hungry I am. But the awareness is the biggest part there. So however you access awareness, cool. Doesn't have to be the way that I do it by any means. Since you take such good care of what you eat daily, this is a second question. Okay. How often do you eat at a restaurant? And when you do, how do you manage to ... I don't know. Yeah, it's not showing me the rest. Plus, since you take such good care of what you eat daily and where the food comes from. Okay. There's 3 questions. Holy cow. I'm going to try and lace this together, though, because we're on the food path here. How often do you eat at a restaurant? And when you do, how do you manage to feel comfortable not having control over the food that you're eating, origin-wise? Plus, since you take such good care of what you eat daily and where the food comes from. Great question. In the last year, I've eaten at a restaurant a total of 4 times. I actually just recorded a little Instagram video about this. I don't think I've posted it yet. But 4 times. All 4 times have been at a restaurant called The Well. It's just this spot in Austin. They're pretty conscious about this stuff they have. I mean, I'll just get a steak and maybe some bone broth. I keep it super simple. And it's not hard to keep it super simple because, I mean, most places you go, you can get something reasonable. And I'm not going to tweak out over it. This place just happens to be kind of a no seed oils, only organic, friggin' local kind of stuff. So it's cool. But I just don't do that most of the time. I will say something that helps me is the fact that I've cultivated a group of people, a real community that aren't going to be barking at me for not wanting to go to a restaurant because we all cook every day. We're all health conscious and we all think about those things. Now, how do you get to that point? Be a stubborn pain in the ass for many, many years until you find the people that kind of jive with that sort of thing. Also, being in Austin, there's a lot of freaking people like that, so it's a little bit easier. When I was back home, there's a lot of lonely dinners. I'll tell you that much. Hopefully that answers the question here, though. I really like building the physique and all that. How do you train the mindfulness? The ice bath, the run, the early wake-ups. My mornings are the mind gym. And then I go to the track and jiu-jitsu and the friggin' weight room, all that good stuff. The mind is the focus in the mornings. That's sitting there in the empty room staring at the wall. That's the mind work. Being in that cold shower, the ice bath, wanting to leave so bad, but convincing yourself and coaching yourself to stay. That is how you build the mind. Are you going to keep rage baiting or go back to uplifting people with your posts? Uh-oh. So this is a funny concept. Obviously, this person is mad at me or doesn't like me. So this idea of rage baiting, it's actually an exercise that I'm doing for myself, which is saying things that are definitely going to make people angry. Also saying the things that are definitely true that are going to make people angry. And then diffusing the overwhelm of people being angry because they don't know me, I don't know them. Their opinion is based on bullshit, which again, I already talked about the short form content sort of crap. Mind you, I would say maybe a fifth of my content is quote unquote rage baiting, meaning being slightly more controversial or conversational, if you will. But people are only going to see that. But when it comes to the actual information, the systems, the really detailed videos that I'll create about how to think, how to approach intentionality and self-awareness and discipline and all these things, oh, nobody sees it. Oh, imagine that. So wait, we're incentivized to make the controversial stuff because that's the only way to get people to see the right stuff. What do you think my biggest video ever was? I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't F around, I don't party, I don't go out. Am I lame for that? Absolutely. And to be lame in the eyes of somebody I'd never want to be like is nothing but a success. 52 million views, 40,000 comments. This guy's a piece of shit. Oh, wow, this guy must be the life of the party, huh? But I got enough people on board so that I can do the uplifting. So if you want to get mad at me for throwing out some sharper opinions, maybe get mad at whoever the hell runs Instagram. Because that's the only way that I can get someone's attention. Because when you just put out the value, well, what the heck? Dead silent. I've done it for years. Trust me. So uplifting people, even on the controversial videos, half the people are saying you're a piece of shit, I hope you die. Half the people are saying this was awesome, thanks for the ideas, gonna go work on this. So really just depends on who you are and how you receive a video. I don't think I've ever watched an Instagram video and felt my heart rate go through the roof and, my face gets all red from anger. That sounds like a choice. How long should I look into a place before moving? Oh, that's a freaking great question. I would say depending on the reason you're moving, even just doing the move itself, if where you go isn't perfect, if things don't seem exactly like you thought they were going to, I think it's going to do something for you. I don't want to do the whole cliche, move out of your hometown thing, because what if your hometown is dope as hell? What if your hometown is Austin, Texas? That's where I moved to because there's a bunch of cool shit going on here. So I don't want to go too over the top with that, but I would say maybe visit a couple times, maybe spend a week at a time and see what you think. Try out some new things, try to connect with some people. I visited Austin twice before I moved here. I think the first time it was kind of oh shit, this might be kind of awesome. And then the second time I said, yeah, damn, we're doing this. And then looked for a place on that second trip. And it's been, a year and a half or so? Best choice I could have made. Definitely turned some things around. So it's not to say that life couldn't have been awesome if I stayed back in Raleigh. However, I think there just needed to be a change in general, because sometimes when you're not meeting new people, nothing seems to be happening. I mean, yeah, maybe it is up to you, but I mean, the environment you live in, it definitely plays a role. So something to think on. What were the largest influences in your life? People, books, philosophy, etc. It's funny. I was on a podcast the other day, and I was talking about being really young and in school, and the DARE program, or when the fire station comes to your school and said during an assembly, this person had this happen, and they drank alcohol and flew off the side of the road and died, and then this person texted. For whatever reason, I would always just take those things pretty seriously. I'd go, yeah, I don't really want to die. I don't think that if somebody's going to offer me some candy that I should just take it, because they say, well, you never know if it's going to be drugs. And so, I don't know. I always kind of just looked up to the general breadth of information that comes from people older than you. It's a free library of great advice, because old people love to tell young people what they screwed up on and how to fix it. I just went, shit, I'll buy some of this. Why not? I'll buy into the truth. It seems like you're trying to help me out. Mind you, I definitely had people supporting me in my family and friends and whatnot. So that's a major blessing. I think I got a good scope of who's out to help me and who's out to get me kind of thing. But yeah, I built up this crazy resistance to people offering me something, and nobody ever offered me something. I'm going, dude, where's the guy that's going to come up with a bag of candy and offer me something so I can say no? I built up this sick-ass resilience, and yeah, no one ever offered. So if you want to offer me some drugs or something so I could say no, definitely feel free. But some of the biggest influences, I mean, my mom, my grandfather. My mom has always been I'm going to do everything it takes and anything it takes to look out for you and be there. So, I mean, that is just this overarching umbrella of I know what it's like to have somebody care. And I definitely don't take that for granted. So much of the framing of my mindset and my life has come from that. And it's still the case. You know what I mean? I'm 25, and my mom wants to fix everything for me. And I say, all right, well, you know, we got to figure out a good way to, you know, transition some of that out, some of that in the right place. Because, you know, sometimes my mom needs help from me, and it's this weird dynamic. I mean, if you're a 20-something-year-old son, you know that the relationship with your mom is a really interesting thing, because there is that transition period of, wait, you need help from me, but I thought you were the mom that took care of everything. But how does this work? It's actually a really hard thing to navigate. I've had a lot of clients with that similar sort of dynamic. And, you know, sometimes I'm more so seeing the mom angle in the client dynamic. I'm going, oh, well, you know, let me explain maybe what the son angle looks like, and just trying to create more of that understanding. So, yeah, my mom has been a huge one. And then my grandfather, I would say he's one of those undeniable people. He's just turned 79 years old. He goes skiing every year, hits the gym every day, looks jacked, eats just like I do. And man, my whole life, he has spoken to me like I understand. When you speak to a kid like they get it, they end up getting it. Imagine that. And, you know, when I was struggling through school and everything, I mean, he would express his real, genuine, authentic frustration with the system of how things work to me. And I was the one struggling to get to school and crying every day and all of that stuff when I'm in, you know, middle school. And he's saying these teachers just have no idea. These people have never lived a day outside of the school system. They don't know what it's like to deal with anybody that's not just the same general ass kind of kid. And to receive that, man, it's just, that is the coolest thing. And I talk about it constantly because I couldn't be more grateful to have received that authenticity. And just seeing him as the example of being someone undeniable, having that confidence, knowing what he thinks, knowing that he can take care of things if he needs to take care of things. It was just amazing to be able to see that growing up and still see that. You know, he watches what I do, and I said, you know, you should get into making some content. Gumpy, I call him Gumpy. Gumpy, you should make content, because he's always telling me how at the gym, you know, he's telling these guys that are 50, 60 years old, he said, yeah, I got these old guys at the gym. So, well, I guess younger than me, but, you know, these old guys. And I'm just telling them that if you want to have results, it's common damn sense. Stick to the plan. Stop eating all the bullshit food. Go to the gym every day. He says, look, I'll give them the plan, but nobody follows through. I say, see, this is the stuff you need to talk about, because it's one thing for a 25-year-old asshole to be talking about it, but a 79-year-old that looks amazing and has an incredible life and confidence to match, it'd be pretty damn powerful. Also seeing the dynamic of him and my grandmother, who passed away some years ago, man, just the traditional mixed with just this deeper kind of connection. They were great at dancing, and you know, you have Gumpy, who is structured and strong, and when I was little, a little bit scary. And then Nani, she taught ballet, she taught dance. She knew all the rules of setting the table, and she knew all of the, cordial relationship stuff and the music and just that dynamic. Oh, man, so amazing. And we do karaoke all the time, and we'd put on Nani's bathrobes when we were little, and Gumpy would come in and go, what are you doing to these kids? And just, I could not be more grateful for that dynamic, because again, just a wild example of, best case scenario. And I'm sure things weren't perfect, you know what I mean? But they would work out together all the time. They'd be doing P90X in their garage every day. What a blessing to be able to see that growing up. All right. How to build confidence and be my authentic self. One form of confidence is self-trust, and the way that you can trust yourself is to set expectations, follow through. So for me, I think today is day 2,837 in a row of running every single morning. So I can look back on that data and go, damn, dude, every time I say I'm going to do something, I do that shit. To give that to yourself is a massive gift. It obviously takes time, but confidence is based on data. You have to build the data that's going to make you confident. If you look in the mirror and see somebody you don't like, you got to question why. Your identity is based on what you think, what you do, and what happens to you. You can't always control what happens to you. You can't always control what you think, but you can control what you do. So act like somebody who's confident. You're going to see that confidence becomes a part of who you are. Now, the authenticity, talk about the rage bait thing that someone brought up earlier. Why am I making videos to kind of poke the bear? Because I want to say some shit that I think that I know people are not going to like me for, and I'm going to stand on business. Don't like me. I don't need you to like me because I'm confident. You know what I mean? You have to act like that person before it feels super genuine. And sometimes I post a video, I go, ooh, I don't know if people aren't going to like this one. And I can sit in an empty room, and the conversation with myself is healthy and peaceful. So build that data. It's the best way to put it. Do you use any apps to track your runs, lifts? If so, which one do you recommend? Not for my daily runs. If I do, a 5 miler with a friend or something, I'll pop it on Strava. Nothing crazy. I did a half marathon about a month ago. So I did that. It's cool. Tracked it on Strava for my lifts and all that. I just have a good gauge on my intensity and kind of the effort that I need to put in. So I don't really track any of that. I just kind of know where I'm at any given time. I've been at the gym stuff for quite a few years, so it just stays ingrained in the mind. Maybe it would be better to track some stuff and be on a program. Right now, I would say what I'm actually trying to prioritize is the organization of all of my lifting and fitness endeavors, because holy crap, it gets so overwhelming. I have to piece together the perfect week. And if I don't, it sets me up for the wrong next week, because I got jiu-jitsu twice a week, going to the track to sprint twice a week, lifting 4 times a week, running 7 times a week, and obviously working, recording all the time, writing newsletters, coaching people every day. I mean, this becomes a lot. And all of the stuff I'm doing feels like a huge mental bandwidth kind of limiter there. So yeah, I don't track very much, but I'm pretty tuned in when it comes to that stuff, because it's the theme of my life. Any restaurants in ATX that you go to? Well, The Well. There you go. I talked about that earlier. Do you donate blood? Do you think it's healthy? Whew. Had to cough there for a second. That snuck up on me. Do you donate blood? I don't, but I probably should. I heard that bloodletting can be pretty good for you, because it just kind of brings some new cells into you. I'm no scientist, but yeah, I have heard that that's a good thing. I just hate needles. Ugh. I don't think a 1.5-inch little piece of metal belongs in my vein. But yeah, I probably should do it. Last one here. Thoughts on David Goggins? Agree/disagree with his methods, and why? Great question. I can definitely tell you that David Goggins, hearing him on Joe Rogan however many years ago, for me, it was not a I'm going to run through a wall kind of thing. It was actually I'm on the verge of tears because I didn't realize that there were that many people out there that kind of do things because they don't want to. And I've told this story a handful of times in different places, but listening to that podcast, he goes, people always ask me, David, why do you run when you hate it? And he goes, what do you mean? And his voice gets kind of high because he's just emphasizing the point. What do you mean, why do I run? That's why I do it. And I thought, whoa. And I just, I felt this wave of emotions going, man, I've felt this way for a while. And believe me, I am not David Goggins ultra marathon level by any means. I definitely do things in a very different way. But that really spoke to me. So freaking, it's Goggins, that's the dude when it comes to discipline and doing hard things. Now, what I'm not a fan of, whether he would say this is his thesis or not, you kind of get the vibe of this and adjacent people, very similar. To do hard things, to run away from yourself and your emotions, that's the opposite of what I'm preaching. Do hard things to be there with yourself, to stay in the hard time, to acknowledge your emotions, but not let the emotions drive your behavior. That is way more nuanced. That is way more skilled. So don't do 100-mile ultra marathon because you don't want to process the relationship that you are in that still just tugs your heart every single day and is the center of your universe. So you got to go run yourself into the ground. That's not the point. And I think these longer endurance events, they're very mentally virtuous because you have to push yourself. And physically speaking, that's just absolutely not my interest at all. But I want to say it's because there's such this gap between people who really think and care and feel very deeply. They don't usually get the fruits of social interaction. And then somebody gets into a relationship and gives everything, and then it doesn't work out, and they lose themselves. And that feeling, damn near unbearable. So it sucks that something cool like endurance events and all of this hard shit usually comes from kind of an existential pain. And again, I think these things can be used as tools to understand yourself more, but unfortunately, a lot of people use a 100-mile race just like they use alcohol. It's to get away. Don't try and run away from yourself because that's one of the few things that you cannot outrun. So with that, it's going to be the end of the podcast. 43 minutes straight. So many great questions. These are so fun to me. Like I said at the beginning, just having the answers downloaded and some really funny ones in here too. So this was awesome. Look, I mentioned a few different things throughout the pod. I said my newsletter, so definitely sign up for the newsletter if you like to see some stuff in written form. I write 2 of those every single week. A lot of the same ideas, just, if you like to screenshot some quotes and whatnot, have it a little bit more quote unquote on paper. Definitely a good thing to save. If you are listening or watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss next week's vid, and comment what you thought. I adore hearing from you guys because just connecting in that kind of way, getting the questions, really talking through the camera to you. That is my goal in this, and it brings me so much joy. So want to hear what you think. Comment there. If you're listening on Spotify, leave a 5-star rating on the show. That would be legendary. And you can comment there as well. So want to hear from everybody. Makes me happy. Every time I go on my phone and I see the little Spotify for Creators logo and then a comment, it's the best. That's my favorite notification of all time. I also mentioned the clients that I work with. So I teach people unbreakable discipline. I teach people to be confident because discipline and confidence are the 2 pillars of any achievement. Anything that you could want to achieve, you have to know that you can be disciplined. So your mind is an asset instead of an obstacle in the way of you getting there. When you know that I will do the work to get to this point, then you can be the person you want to be. Confidence would be the belief that you could even be that person and continuing to remind yourself of that. So if anything I've spoken about in this episode is something you need more help with, more guidance, know that I will help you one-on-one to undeniably achieve that kind of discipline and confidence. I'm not great at everything, but holy shit, I am amazing at looking into someone's mind and helping them build these pillars based on their priorities, not mine. You don't have to be a runner, a friggin' ice bather, a gymmer, a jujitsuer. You don't have to be me at all. I think there's plenty of me. You be you. But if you need that guidance, reach out. You can book a discovery call at the link in the description. Now, if you want a resource to work on this discipline, I have a free 6-day guide to Unbreakable Discipline. You can sign up for that. It'll come right to your email. That is a massive, massive resource. I poured so much information into that, so there will be a link to that as well. That said, I love you. I hope you have the best day ever. I'm going to go enjoy my Saturday. I've got Philosophy Club starting in 5 minutes. People are probably packing in downstairs. And I'm going to have a damn good time at Six Flags tomorrow too. So if you see on my Instagram story, I mean, just flying down this roller coaster and then my phone falling out of my hand, you'll know what the deal is. All right. Have an awesome day. Peace out.